Sickos Club.
Sickos Club.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Hard Way. I am your host, Brett Michelle, joined as always by my what's the correct word there?
My pronouns are he, him.
Well, that's Blade Daly, and with us,
Along with?
with by? Well, that's Blade. Professor Degree is here too, and today we are talking about a real terrible show, and that would be WWF's In Your House Bad Blood from 1997. Now, this was the 18th In Your House event produced by the Fed and was presented by PlayStation. Brand new, hot off the presses PlayStation, live in St. Louis, Missouri at the Kiel Center. In attendance were 21,151 fans. Your announcers for the evening consisted of Jerry the King Lawler, Jim Ross, and Vince McMahon, unfortunately. So a lot of static maneuvers. And your ring announcer was the Fink, which always fantastic. Howard Finkel, we love the Fink. And your referees for the evening were Tim White, Jim Corderas, Earl Hebner, and Mike Chioda. And we're gonna have Blade give you a little rundown on what was happening in the industry at the time.
Well, thanks, Brett. So I think the most notable thing about this period in time is that this same day, Brian Pillman died. And Vince McMahon announced it during the pre-show.
Yep.
And this entire show, Vince McMahon makes the most
I thought his first mention of it was right before that match, and I was just like, "Oh God, this is."
No, it's right at the beginning, right after he leads with "Welcome, everybody."
Okay.
Pardon me.
He references it in such a careless way, and he's trying to keep the vibe upbeat. Jim Ross just doesn't even respond. He never even acknowledges that Pillman has died, because I think he's just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's right here. So I'm just going to say nothing and just focus on the product.
Yeah.
Is the cringiest, most terrible shit. There is a point at the, you guys will get into it, but there's a point where he's like, just to bring our audience up to speed, if you're tuning in late, Brian Pillman was scheduled to wrestle Dude Love today, and he has passed away. And we don't expect to have any more information till tomorrow, but we do have another attraction that we think that you guys will really enjoy. And I can't wait for you guys to get to that later. But
he does also have a part later where it comes out that they think it was an overdose. And he makes sure to add in that happens in every sport and in a lot of other places that aren't just wrestling. It has to make sure to get that in there.
It's not even as tasteful as you said. I mean, it's just Brian Pillman was found dead of a drug overdose, and it's almost like he's Maury Povich hosting, some afternoon show rather than telling us that a man has passed away.
Sally Jesse Vince McMahon.
Yeah. It's so tasteless, and as tasteless as it all is, and during the show, actually, he's like, well, we're hearing that there's no foul play. And that just feels so fucked up and disjointed from a wrestling show. Vince, just shut the fuck up. He died.
Yeah.
Just say he died, and that's all we know. And then
leave it at that.
And as bad as this is, the next night on Raw would be 10 times worse when he has Melanie Pillman on trying to exonerate the WWF from any connection to his death.
Ridiculous. And you got to remember, this is also the same year, isn't it, with Owen Hart dying?
No, this is a couple years before. But
what year did Owen Hart die?
99.
99, okay.
Yeah. So what's going on at this time is that WCW has been fucking dog walking WWF for a year and a half almost. They've literally just been shitting down their throats with ratings, and the NWO is leading to the culmination of the story with Sting at Starrcade 97. They are on the road to that. WCW at this time, I felt, might be telling the greatest pro wrestling story I'd ever seen before. We were all about to be vastly disappointed with the outcome of that. But Bret Hart's still in WWF, which means this is only a month before the Montreal Screwjob.
Yeah.
So this is WWF before the Montreal Screwjob, which I think you can kind of feel the vibe of that during this show. And what I would say is things feel a little stilted. Vince McMahon is working with the NWA. He's that desperate for somebody to help him in any way raise interest in his product. And we are going to have one of the most out of character WWF segments I've ever seen on a pay-per-view or television show or anything. WWF that doesn't acknowledge other pro wrestling promotions. Well, they were during this time.
Well, the biggest thing this show to me felt like was because this was right when WWF was trying to become more of the Attitude Era. You know what I mean? And so it was very much like you had so many segments that were, you know, they were trying to do like new, more edgy characters and stuff like that, but you still had so many holdovers from like the New Generation era. That like it felt like a very like creatively lopsided event.
Yeah, on one hand you have Vader saying, you know, isn't that a bunch of bullshit? And then you have pig farmers, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
Like it just it's like it doesn't, even like the headbangers are on tonight. We'll get into it, but it's just like we want to show how we're just so edgy and we're so cool. And so we've got these guys that are like trademark, I don't know, like JCPenney advertisements for alternative clothes or something.
Yeah.
It felt really weird at the time, and it felt really weird watching it now.
Hearing Jerry Lawler and Vince McMahon wax about Marilyn Manson was definitely funny.
There's actually a point in this, and I'm not sure where it is. I may or may not have it in my notes, where they're talking about someone and somebody has like, you know, they're doing something kind of crazy. And the King says, well, you can call it what you want. I call it the WWF Attitude. And he says it real quick. And it's like, oh shit. Is that where you coined it? Did you push that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think you see the rumblings of the Attitude Era cropping up here. And really, I think you see the modern invention of WWE cropping up here, what would become WWE, particularly during the Stone Cold segment on this show, where it's really becoming about a few personalities. It's not as much about wrestling and like a contest of athleticism. It's more about
the soap opera
and making compelling stories, because that match is really just a giant excuse for Stone Cold to be on the show.
And so, we start with a pretty rad little video package, you know, hyping up the main event. And then from there, we go straight into the action. And right away, we hear the iconic, "We are the nation of domination."
Fantastic.
And we're setting up for a handicap match between the Nation of Domination. It would be D'Lo, The Rock, and Kama Mustafa versus Hawk and Animal, the Legion of Doom.
And Vince casually mentions Brian Pillman's death, says that we won't belabor the point, and Jim Ross just goes right into Ken Shamrock's injuries at the hands of Farouk, because, you know, it ain't no big deal.
Yep, and they're kind of hinting that Legion of Doom might have a third partner, but there is none. It's just the Legion of Doom in a handicap match.
Nope. We'll see if they find somebody, and they didn't.
They didn't. Not an amazing match by any stretch, but we do get a lot of little hints at where The Rock would be going character-wise, and I think it's great.
Yeah, you hear, well, the crowd, for one thing, is chanting Rocky sucks at this point.
Yep.
Pretty much the moment he steps in the ring, obviously, which led to all of that.
Which is great, though, because they were still chanting that to him when he was a babyface, which is
Absolutely,
why they had to turn him heel and join the nation, because no one wanted to cheer for Rocky Maivia.
We get Shamrock's injury, if memory serves correctly. During this feud was when The Rock cut a promo and for the first time said, Kenny, I got a big hand and I know how to lay the smackdowns.
Yep.
Again, we're starting to see those seeds planted.
Yep, we see him start doing the he does the spit in his hand before a slap.
Right.
When he's in the corner, he doesn't do like the whole sequence that he ends up, doing later.
No.
In the video games, they call it the People's Punch.
Right, he's workshopping it here.
Yep, he's workshopping it. He's also workshopping flopping like a fish through the ropes to the outside when he takes a bump.
He had been watching Shawn Michaels matches and figuring out how to bump. So I thought this was cool. Again, you can see where the WWF is at this point because Vince McMahon mentions that the Road Warriors have held the AWA belts, the NWA belts, the WWF belts, something that when they finally completed that trilogy, it was never mentioned. But by this point, they're not doing so well. So yeah, it's trying to figure out whatever works. And then he just doesn't ever shut the fuck up. And Vince just constantly talks, saying nothing, but constantly talking through the entire thing.
Capacity crowd, what a maneuver.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
I do want to say, I fucking love D'Lo Brown so much. So much. That man he was a living cartoon character of a pro wrestler, and every time he was on my screen, I was happy. The way his head shaking, the way he would, like, even when he hits a big time elbow drop later, he leaps like 4 feet in the air. And
we're seeing the seeds of what he eventually became planted in this match as well.
Yeah.
So D'Lo Brown, it occurs to me, because I had the same thought. Just every time, like, the match is not much of a match necessarily, but every time D'Lo's on, he's such a blast. And I started looking at him as being sort of like the Juice Robinson of the group. He's the funny man. And the mind wanders as it often does. And it took me back to a conversation that was going on in the Discord that we all take part in about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the different archetypes. There were comparisons to the X-Men, Leonardo being Cyclops, Raphael being Wolverine, Donatello being Beast, Michelangelo being Nightcrawler of the era. And those archetypes bleed through into someone else pointed out a bunch of AEW wrestlers, but you can see it in the nation because Farouk is very serious, far too serious. Kama is a supreme fighting machine. You've got The Rock, who's that kind of renegade, rebellious asshole. And then you got Michelangelo, who is D'Lo Brown.
Yeah. And this was definitely like...
It passes the turtle test.
You could tell at this time Vince McMahon was trying to do... It was very faction heavy.
Oh, right.
With some of the worst factions I've ever seen in pro wrestling. I do want to shout out, though, that whoever did Hawk's face paint did a fantastic job of lacquering that on because while Animals has smeared all over his face, Hawks looks like he's ready to go host a drag show, and that paint ain't chipping at all. At all.
Hawk put the makeup on, got drunk, forgot that he put it on, and applied another layer on top of it, and it was never...
He must have. Holy shit.
That didn't come off. He was wearing the same makeup the next night on Raw.
I think the only real sequence that stood out in this match is where Animal hits it's towards the end of the match. Animal hits a big power slam on The Rock. D'Lo hits him with that big leaping cartoony elbow drop, and then and Hawk immediately hits D'Lo with a cool looking neck breaker.
Right,
and that's the best technical spot of the match.
I may have actually tuned out at that point. I'm not really sure I remember it, but if you like forearms and you like drop kicks, this is your match.
Yeah. Blade, what do you got?
Yeah, I thought the ending was interesting because as you were talking about The Rock kind of workshopping stuff, having him hit the rock bottom at the end of the match, and nobody even calls it the rock bottom. They just don't even, they call it nothing. it's really wild that you can tell the focus is definitely in this show and this time. The focus is definitely on Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin. That is who they have really marked right now. Yeah.
The last little thing about the seeds being planted for what The Rock would become is, if you listen to the Nation of Domination theme, those drums carry over into all of The Rock's themes up until the one he uses now. Which, you know what? I know a lot of people don't like it, but I fucking love his Hollywood rock theme where it's real slow, and I love it.
Is that his current theme, or is that?
Well, yeah, he's using it because he's like the final boss or whatever now. Right. He's like a heel character again, so he's been using it.
He's what?
Because he whispers. Because so his like the theme that I think my favorite from him though is the one he started using right after The Rock says, like when they cut that out, and it's just those quick drums after, if you smell what The Rock is cooking. But on his Hollywood theme, it's just this like slow build up, and then it's cooking.
Yeah.
That's like dramatic intro. Yeah.
It's a really long, like there's helicopters flying around, and there's this long synth patch is just like kind of holding a note.
Yeah.
Is cooking. And that it's so pretentious.
You know what the secret is for the organ sound that's just like held down? You jam a pair of scissors in there.
Just to hold the key down just forever. Yeah. It's still being played as we speak.
It is.
Currently,
it is.
At this moment.
It is. Somewhere The Rock is still waiting to make his entrance.
That pair of scissors is getting rusty.
It is.
We are 5 minutes into this match, and Jim Ross is already telling us where Farouk went to college. I had 15 minutes into the match, and Vince is pulling all the what a maneuvers and the capacity crowds. And
did Vince know any move names?
Well, he knew that the stomach and the bread basket were the same thing, or they were very close to each other, and that's about it. Yeah. And he knows how to growl.
Oh my god! But all right, so enough of that match. It's not really that amazing. Farouk gets involved, and you get to the finish,
and that's it. Yeah.
And then we go backstage to hype up the WWF Hotline with Sonny and
Option 5 on the hotline.
Yep. Trying to keep things modern because it is 1997,
Yes, and Doc Hendricks is back with Sonny, who really seems to be comfortable around him, by the way. She's like nestling her head against him and stuff. It's she's being kind of flirty with him. It's weird. I'm like, that's fucking Michael Hayes. You realize, like, he has a walking venereal disease, right? Like, don't fucking touch him.
Well, we get the Vince McMahon trying to be a human and give an update of Pillman's unfortunate passing. And Pillman was supposed to fight Dude Love, but because he passed, they had to cancel the match. And
well, he didn't pass. He was found dead.
Yes.
In his hotel room.
He was found dead. And in the place of that match, we get what Vince McMahon says, they had to scramble to put together something really fantastic and amazing for the fans, and it's a minis match.
Yes, because I think that the most fitting tribute to any tragic death is a minis match.
Good Lord. I don't even remember.
That's how I'd like to be remembered, you guys.
Who it was Nova and Max Mini versus Tarantula and
Mosaic.
And Mosaic, that's right.
Yeah, and this actually I think is one of the better matches on the card.
It absolutely is. It is one of the best matches on the card. Well, I mean, if people don't know out there, like in Lucha Libre, there is a big tradition of the minis.
Yes, I think it's the sticker shock kind of, because the minis had been on WWF programming before this.
Yes.
So that Rumble that they did earlier in the year in Texas, where Shawn won the belt back from Sid, featured a heavy lucha presence. You'll notice throughout this that Jim Ross just refers to it as Mexican wrestling.
Yeah.
He doesn't ever say the words Lucha Libre. Never. Nobody does.
You had to go to WCW for that.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have I think the shock of Vince trying to be morose and just serious, for a moment to talk about Pillman's death. And then he says, we're scrambling because obviously Brian Pillman can't wrestle. And we booked an attraction that we think you'll enjoy. And for it to immediately throw to minis was just like, what the fuck are you doing?
The through line is that Vince is even as he's pretending to be somber, he's absolutely selling the headline of Pillman's death and being tawdry. Yep. So the through line is exploitation. The through line is
100%.
We're going to exploit this man's death, and then we're going to exploit these people's stature.
And that would continue until
throughout the match.
And into the next night's show where Vince very, very explicitly, you talk about tawdry, Vince explicitly baits Melanie Pillman into trying to exonerate WWF from any culpability in Pillman's death on Raw live.
Right?
Yep.
What does he say? There's a point, you brought it up earlier, that he says tonight where he says, Pillman apparently dead of a drug overdose, which happens in many sports, as you
said. He has to make sure it's not just pinned on wrestling,
right?
Because this was like after the steroid scandal and all that kind of stuff WWF was kind of going through legally at the time.
The late 90s to me always, my friends, one of my buddies coined the phrase wrestler's disease because so many people were dying of heart attacks at the age of 35. In this era, at this time period,
Yep.
So he's definitely deflecting.
I would argue that this is the actual first appearance of Mr. McMahon is this show because he had already, taken the stunner from Austin. We'll get into that later, but him constantly bringing Pillman up like, ooh, there's a big thing that happened and it's really bad also, but we're taking it very seriously and it's not our fault. And
the exploitation factor.
The exploitation of it is really you see who Vince McMahon really is.
Yeah.
And when this show happened live, I saw it live. I did not put that together yet. I did not have that awareness to really understand he is being very exploitative,
Yep. Well, Max Mini and Nova get the victory. And then speaking of Stone Cold, we get probably the cheesiest t-shirt commercial I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah.
They want you to send in check or money order for $20 if you want the official Stone Cold shirt, which features Austin 316 on the front, and on the back there is a skull with 316 emblazoned across. They just describe the entire shirt.
Right?
That was hilarious.
You can't see it. It was like a radio ad.
Yeah.
They're showing it to you, and then they're telling you what you're seeing.
So we ordered, I think, 4 of those shirts. One for me and a bunch of my friends. Everybody had one. We had to alternate days so that we didn't look like ridiculous all wearing the same fucking shirt. I probably had a Steve Austin shirt for every day of the week at this point. I was a big fan.
It made me think though, because when I finally got into wrestling and buying wrestling shirts and stuff, the internet had become a thing, And I never really thought, how did people get wrestling shirts before that, other than going to shows? But I guess you send in your check or money order like it's a Random House, Columbia House CD package.
I used to order them through the magazine too. WWF magazine had a little insert.
Right. Yeah.
WWF. It wasn't a little insert, man.
No, it was half the fucking magazine.
Half the time when you bought a WWF magazine, and this was ridiculous, but I would make myself read it cover to cover.
Yeah.
Because I was you have to have the discipline to read this entire magazine if you're going to buy it. So, and it got to a point where I was buying 7 magazines a month, and I did the same thing with all of them. But part of the fun of buying WWF magazine was to see if they had new merch, in the...
Yeah.
And a lot of times they didn't, but it was huge. And they must have made just ass loads of money.
For me, because I used to always buy the WWF magazines each month that they would come out. But for me, it was just so I could draw the wrestlers.
Sure. Yeah.
It was how I practiced drawing as a kid.
Right?
Well, after that cover, go ahead. Go ahead.
I remember hearing as much as I loathe mentioning his name. Bruce Pritchard on some podcast somewhere talked about when Earthquake injured Hogan. And they encouraged everyone to send in a card for Hulk Hogan so that you could, let him know you cared. And it was totally just a way to send merch magazines out to everybody. Like, cool, now we got a mailing list and you're on
They
it.
just added you to their mailing list.
Yep.
That's all they did.
It was.
Hulk never saw the cards.
No, Hulk didn't give a shit. He fucking burned those cards in his fireplace to keep him warm at night.
God. Well, we go from that to Sunny comes back out. And she's going to introduce the next match because of her storied history of tag team managing. And we get Henry and Phineas, the Godwins, versus the Headbangers for the tag team championships. Go ahead, Blade.
I just wanted to provide a little perspective on this situation. So, yes, Tammy had managed the Body Donnas. I think Chris Candido might have already been out of the company by this point. And Tom Pritchard was moved back to a trainer role, and they were training people in some warehouse in Stamford, I think. I don't really know. But Sonny had, notoriously been a manager of tag teams. The Body Donnas are gone. Sonny is bigger than the Body Donnas ever were. She looks so healthy and vibrant here. It's so sad because we reviewed ECW Heatwave a week ago, and it's so crazy how fast everything changed. Less than a year later, she's out of it on camera. She's not looking like she's with it. I'm an old man now. I'm 45 years old. I'm probably close to twice as old as her at this time in her life, and it's just so sad. And what a train wreck it all became later.
You booze, you lose.
Yeah.
Well,
very quickly.
I don't think it was just booze, friend, but
right.
I mean, you booze, you take downers constantly, you lose. Yes, that
you
is
hang
true.
with the clique, it'll make you sick.
Ooh.
What I forgot about this time was the Godwins had gone from being the lovable, stupid ass baby faces with the slop bucket to being the heels with the slop bucket. And I had forgotten entirely about Uncle Cletus.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this last night and I'm going, who the fuck is Uncle Cletus? Like, I just don't even know. And I go look it up and I was shocked to discover that it was the former Dirty White Boy, Tony Anthony, the former
no shit,
the former TL Hopper, the plumber gimmick guy.
I didn't even realize that those two were the same guy.
I know. And he usually had blonde, he was balding, blonde, slick back hair. But in this, he's got this kind of just very unseemly hick fro. It's weird.
Well, one of the Godwins, I forget which one it was, but one of them becomes Midian too.
It's Phineas. Phineas becomes
Phineas.
So that's the other thing that happened is Henry had gotten injured this year, earlier in the year. They had done this whole program with Sunny convincing Phineas that she was into him so that she could help the Smoking Guns beat the Godwins to win the tag titles. The Smoking Guns turned heel and had Sunny as their manager. And then Henry gets hurt. He's told he needs to be out for like 15 weeks. He comes back in like 6. And I think he retires like kind of shortly after this. He might wrestle for another year or two.
When did they do the Southern Justice gimmick? You remember
It's
that?
after this. It's after this.
Okay.
Southern Justice is like them, is like kind of more like sophisticated.
Like Jarrett's bodyguards or
well,
something?
they do
Yes.
wrestle this whole match with a fucking Confederate flag draped over the turnbuckle.
Yes, they do. And he's got it on his knee too.
Yes.
Yeah. Because in case you didn't know, they were rednecks.
Right.
Yes.
One of them
Yes.
has a giant tattoo painted on the side on their bicep that just says redneck.
And we're also going to get into some really interesting tattoos later on this card.
Boy, yeah. Speaking of,
because if you have a nation of domination, you need to have their polar opposite.
That's right.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. So anyway, that's enough for me.
But we get the Headbangers who are starting to come up and become a hot thing in the company. I loved him. I love a spot where Phineas goes to like spit his gum and like smack it at the crowd or whatever. And so Mosh just spits up a big loogie into the air
Enormous.
and catches it
Right?
in his mouth.
Right? And there's a lot of spitting in this pay-per-view.
There it is.
I had a love-hate relationship with the Headbangers. It's 97, so I'm 2 years out of high school, give or take. I'm very much listening to the alternative music that the Headbangers are inspired by.
That Marilyn Manson.
And, right, so you have this gimmick where they are anti-establishment, anti-authoritarian, whatever, but they're still very much this cartoony, by-the-numbers, pig farmer and, alternative dude. I mean, it's like, what was that guy, Radford or whatever that was around for a little while? It's about as authentic as that.
Yeah.
But yet, the Headbangers had they have something that is compelling. I mean, there is something that I connect with. I don't think they're a bad tag team by any means.
No, not at all.
It's like
I will say though, there was a spot where Thrasher goes to give Phineas a Hurricane Rana off the apron. But he just butt bumps him in the chest and then falls straight on his back. And Phineas just says, fuck it, and does a front flip. He's like, I'm selling this. That was a Hurricane Rana. Let's go.
Yeah, it is like the clumsy. There's a couple really sloppy moves where I'm like, ooh, maybe they weren't that good.
Yeah. I will say, Jerry Lawler busted me up with the line, if you drove to elementary school, you might have been a Godwin.
I think my favorite line was when the Godwins, one of them was giving Sonny, I guess it's what Blade was referencing. He's giving Sonny a look, and I think it's Jim Ross says, well, it's a good thing she doesn't look like Ned Beatty. And then they very quickly just move on.
My God.
Well, I think a shock, the Godwins end up winning the match.
I was surprised by that.
Immediately start beating down the Headbangers and are told that if they don't vacate the ring, they're going to be stripped of the titles, which does that happen often around this time?
Referee's discretion, right?
I thought we were about to have a little switcheroony there because, I mean, otherwise, I don't know, I'd never heard that in a match before.
This is also the beginning of Vince's turning his attitude about tag team wrestling completely around, where it's like, if you last long enough as a tag team, you will be the champions. That will happen. And the Headbangers are a great case study for this because, look, I agree with you to a degree. Like, they always were like Kmart grunge guys to me.
That's a good way to say it.
Radford was just completely laughably unacceptable. Louis Spicoli walking around like grunge guys call themselves rad, right? Like, that's Radford. Like, what the fuck, you guys?
Didn't they announce him as Madonna's boyfriend or something?
That was his gimmick in AAA.
Okay.
AAA.
But I will say, I do get it, though, if you were a kid, I guess, because I was, in 1997, I was 9 years old, and I thought the Headbangers were badass.
And they were very much for kids. They were not, there was nothing authentically like, ooh, these guys are really edgy. Like,
I grew up to be, I covered in tattoos, I have gauged ears, I wear a lot of piercings, I have my nose pierced, I was into that shit as a kid,
Yeah. And that's just it. I mean, you were 9. I was 18 or 19. So for me, I'm right in the throes of raging against any machine I could find. And you give me these guys that are very much like cookie cutter, it just, it felt
I will say, they had more of it was weird to me that I guess it was the times, but to me, they always had a punk vibe to the way they look and the moshing and stuff. But then they would wear typo negative shirts,
And, and I never understood the face paint either. It didn't it didn't quite jive. Not to say that they shouldn't have worn paint, but it was just odd. I don't know. Sloppy. Maybe. I don't know. Well, whatever. Either way.
From there, we roll into a video package of Stone Cold and how he's been terrorizing the WWF, because this was, kind of right after he had that neck injury from taking a pile driver from Owen Hart. So they were trying to figure out what they could do with him to keep him on TV, because the Stone Cold character had become so hot. And this is where you get the big Stone Cold just every week becomes about like, what the hell is Stone Cold going to do to terrorize Vince this week?
And it's just prime Stone Cold. He's still, I guess you want to say, tweener or whatever. I mean, he's a face at this point, basically, but just shoving his way into everything, bullying his way. He's still mean at this point.
Yeah,
which was what made him so cool, was just how sadistic Stone Cold was and the glee that he took, in doing it. Yeah, this was like, watching those videos was great, and he was so fucking young too. Like,
well, it's crazy too to see what Stone Cold became as a character, because back in this time, and we'll get into it later during one of the matches when he comes out, but they were almost trying to sell it as you needed to fear Stone Cold. Like, he was such a loose cannon that he wasn't safe. He was almost like a terror. And, he always kept that kind of vibe to him, but it became more fun. Like, you didn't fear Stone Cold if you were on the good guys team. You know what I mean?
He became lovable, I guess.
Yeah.
And at this point,
I think it's natural for characters to soften over time, especially if the crowd has decided they're baby faces. It happens to everybody. I think you can't keep that up forever. But this is actually one of my favorite eras of Stone Cold, like 97 through like 99.
Still had the earring.
Yeah, probably up through the time that he gets hit by the car. It's like, that's like the best era of Stone Cold. Like, he's
for the Rock.
Yeah, right. But I think, he had just stunned Vince. Yep. And that was the holy shit. I don't even like, WCW's cool, but like, what is going on over here? Like, for me as a fan, that was the moment. I remember my brother and I watching that, and like, the tension during that interview is so palpable.
Yep.
And they show it in this video of Vince is saying, don't you know that the World Wrestling Federation cares and that there's people here who care about you? And I forget that Austin is just like, he looks like he's pained, He looks like he's really going through something. He's so good. And then he's like, I appreciate that the World Wrestling Federation cares. And you can kiss my ass. And then Vince takes the worst fucking stunner you've ever seen in your life.
Every single time.
The most uncoordinated man ever.
He did top himself for worst stunner ever when Stone Cold came back to fight Kevin Owens at WrestleMania.
Yes.
And he had to basically guide Vince into his shoulders because Vince didn't know what the hell to do. Which is, at this point, it's like, Vince, how many stunners have you taken and you don't know how to take a stunner yet?
Can I sidebar for just a sec?
Yeah.
Apparently, it was Vince's birthday recently. Okay. And I'm not talking 1997. I'm talking like modern day. Okay.
Yeah.
And there were all these wrestlers who like didn't want it public that they were there because Vince is a fucking pariah, as he should be. And there were other wrestlers who did show up. I'm sure John Cena was there. The McMahons are all there, whatever. He wore a headset because he misses being on headset during, and that was a comfort to him to pretend to produce a wrestling show during his fucking birthday party.
Christ.
This is what happens when you're a terrible human being who abuses people your entire adult life. This is how you end up wearing a fucking pretend headset, pretending to fucking call wrestling matches at your own birthday party that a lot of people don't even want to admit they attended.
He's just become Howard Hughes, pissing into bottles, never leaving his bedroom.
I don't even think that Vince wore the headset because he wanted to pretend he was calling a show. I think he wore the headset because he wanted to pretend he was fucking chewing people out all night. Because apparently that's all he did anyway, was just sit there and chew you out all night and bitch at you. Yeah, fuck that. Crazy.
A terrible piece of shit, and he's insane. He's fucking insane. And you can see... this show shows you this is 28 years ago, folks. Okay? Like 28 years ago in like 2 months. So
stop. That just made my back hurt.
Yeah. Well, I was fucking 17 when it happened. So like,
if you want to see a total sociopath putting on a mask of human flesh and pretending to be human and struggling to pretend to be human. That's what you have on this show.
Yes.
And if you also want to see that, RFK Jr., who, Professor, was it you that said he's basically a skin suit full of bees?
God, that was not me, but I wish it was.
Somebody said that, and that's all I can see now is just, oh God. Okay, so anyway,
so
enough about old shit bags.
So the last thing we get, one of the things I want to mention in that video package is that iconic. There's a lot of iconic things that come from tonight, and that shot of Austin being handcuffed and his head, the little bobblehead, you saw that for the rest of that man's career. Whenever they talk about Stone Cold, you see that shot. So it's just kind of neat to see it tonight, and I don't know.
And this was when I had first kind of started knowing what wrestling was and getting into it. Like, I wasn't watching every night or every week it was on. I only knew like little bits and pieces of it. And like, I thought Stone Cold legit got arrested, like, as a child. And I was like, holy shit, like, what is this dangerous ass show where people are just getting arrested on TV? Like, I want to watch this.
It's funny because, like, I remember thinking at the time, like, I mean, they played it very real. And of course, they didn't, because it's funny, but they played it more real than most of what you saw at that time. So
yeah, and I mean, we'll get into it more in the main event, but there's some other stuff I thought was real that creeped me the fuck out.
So the WWF at this time is a lot like this podcast in that we just go through everything else as fast as we possibly can, and then we talk about Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin for like 45 minutes nonstop. Yeah, and that's pretty much the whole company.
Basically. Well, next up we get an Owen Hart promo, because he'll be fighting for the Intercontinental title later.
Right.
And
stumbled over his words several times.
My God, he was not cutting a good one on this night.
Man was so gifted in the ring, and I don't know. Again, sometimes I think when dudes fuck up, it's endearing. So I like it,
you know, because I'm someone, I stumble over my fucking words when I'm supposed to be like speaking and stuff in public. So it's like, I don't know, when it's too perfect to me, like that's when it just comes off as like, okay, this is scripted. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
What you got, Blade?
Owen's most legendary promo is a botch. He says, "I kicked your knee out of your knee." To Bret. Like, that's the most like notable thing I remember him ever saying. So like, Owen, what I love about Owen is like, he was great heel. He just, he was great when you put him, like that thing where he convinces Martha to throw in the towel against Backlund.
Yes.
That's like an all-time, one of my favorite pro wrestling performances ever. It's not even a match for Owen. But he's so good in it that it's one of the all-time greatest things I've ever seen. Like this guy gaslighting his mom into guilting his mom into fucking throwing in the towel. But yes, it's a rough promo, but he is wearing the Owen 316 says, "I just broke your neck." Well,
so that's kind of the thing about the promos. Stone Cold gets whoever wins the Intercontinental title, But like, man, it took me so long to get into Owen as a kid because I just thought he was a dork,
Me too.
Like, his brother was so cool with the long hair and the shades, and then Owen just had kind of like a flat top, and
Right? Yeah, it took me a long time to really figure it out. There's a lot of guys like that where it's like when I was younger, it's like, you didn't appreciate him for one reason or another, and then all of a sudden it clicks, and you're like, oh my God, Owen was a fucking genius, but like it took me a long time to figure it out.
It makes me think about that a lot watching, modern wrestling, watching AEW and even WWE when I was still watching, wondering like, I wonder what like the youth are thinking of like these certain characters and stuff.
Yeah, it's a thing. Like now when I look at guys that like back in the past, it was, I don't like that guy, fuck that guy. Now it's like, okay, well, this person got their job for a reason. Somebody out there likes them. And I tend to give people more chances, and I tend to look at their matches or look at their whatever it is and say, what's the thing that's clicking with everybody else and not me? Whereas in the past, I was easier to dismiss people. But however, time has proven me correct, and here we are 25 years later, and Randy Orton, just don't have the time of day for that guy. Sorry, Randy. I know you're talented. You're talented, but Just never clicked. Anyway, what's next?
We actually roll into what I thought was the coolest part of the show.
Yeah.
Was since they are in St. Louis, legendary wrestling town, they do a little tribute to the legends of the time who had come through St. Louis in their careers. And do either one of you want to take it away on this and who we get to see? Go ahead, Blade.
Yeah, I mean, I'll weigh in for sure. I mean, so this is how fucking batshit things are at this time for WWF. Like, they are literally, this is like a 15-minute segment at least.
But
like,
it was
way
so
longer than
good.
I
I
thought.
loved it, man.
Me too.
Hey, it was well done. And I think what's really crazy is you see how knowledgeable Vince is about the NWA and about their champions. You know, he knows about Gene Kiniski. He knows about Dory Funk, Terry Funk. He knows about Harley Race. He knows all about his career. He says Harley Race's name is spelled R-E-S-P-E-C-T. You know, like
that's an awesome line.
Yeah, it was cool. And it was actually really cool to see Vince have some reverence for the history of pro wrestling, which I think this was the last time that ever happened.
Yeah.
Because he now would tell you he invented the whole thing. So, you know, WWE got so heavy on the propaganda later, and they would love to put the NWA out of business right now if they could, or at any other point in time.
Sure.
But so they bring out all these former NWA champions, and I have really just the last few years learned the history of the NWA title and who held it. You know, I did know a fair amount of them, but I didn't know, I didn't know the order they went in. I didn't know. And now I really, really do. And so seeing Gene Kiniski, he refereed the first Starrcade main event with Harley Race and Ric Flair in a steel cage. I've seen that match. You know, he looked old then. He looks even older here. But Gene Kiniski held the NWA title for 3 years. You know, they bring out Jack Briscoe, who passed away about 15 years ago as we tape this. And San Jack, back a legend, absolutely legendary NWA champion, dethroned Harley Race from his first reign, dropped it to Giant Baba a few times over in All Japan and won it back from him. And then, they bring out Harley Race. They bring out, it's kind of ramping up as they go. So no, I guess they brought out Dory Funk next, and Dory gets a big reception. St. Louis was maybe the biggest wrestling town. St. Louis and Chicago and New York were like the place, Yep. And Jim Ross even says that at the top. He's like one of the greatest pro wrestling cities of all time.
You can hear the joy in Jim Ross's voice.
Yes.
Yeah. Every single thing he says, he stops being an announcer and he starts being a fan again. And it's really cool.
It's really cool. It's really cool. And then they bring out Harley. Then they bring out Terry.
Yep.
And I was really shocked because Harley's like a 7-time champion, 7-time champion. They bring out Harley. Terry's only a 1-time champion, and not to diminish it, but, he's still very popular. And Vince really goes hard in the ECW stuff.
He did. I was kind of shocked. Like, he was shouting out ECW for Terry.
Big time. And what's so funny about this is every other person, when they come out, they run a little video package on them as they come out. And there's this like very saccharine, classical music playing as they come out. But when Terry's announced, it's like metal. Like, it's so funny because it's like, everybody knows Terry's still, fucking middle-aged and crazy, right?
Terry was still active at that point.
He was.
Right?
But he was very active. I mean, very well known, and I think he had been in WWF for a short stretch at some point during this. But when they bring out Sam Muchnick,
Chainsaw Charlie.
I was trying to remember, had he done it yet?
No, because Chainsaw Charlie is against the New Age Outlaws.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
so
like
98, 99.
But when they bring out Sam Muchnick and Luthez, man, how cool is that? Like,
that was rad.
If you guys don't know, like, Sam Muchnick was the president of the NWA for like 20 years. Okay. It could be argued that the NWA really started falling apart when Sam stepped down. Okay. He's the one who is the gap bridger between everybody. He had Wrestling at the Chase, the TV show from St. Louis, the legendary weekly television show. And Lou Thez, so this dude named Orville Brown was the first world champion in the NWA. And a lot of people don't know this, but Lou Thez had a wrestling organization called the National Wrestling Association, and he realized that he wasn't going to win, okay? He joined the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, and became... Orville Brown got in a horrible car accident and had to retire when he was still the first champion. And Lou Thez took the crown from him and was the dude for like 6-7 years. As the world champion. He traveled to Japan with the NWA world title. He was the guy who made the NWA global. And really, really, the JWA, the Japanese Wrestling Alliance, with the great stars that they had over there. He is the one that brought wrestling to Japan in so many ways. And so this is an amazing moment. And Lou didn't live much longer. Sam didn't live much longer after this. They were very old. They were born in like the 15s, and so this was like the coolest thing I can remember WWF ever doing to acknowledge the history. And it lasted such a short period of time. We had made some reference to them having the new Midnight Express with Bodacious Bart and Beautiful Bob, or whatever it was. Right. Bodacious Bob and Beautiful, I don't remember. And Jeff Jarrett as the NWA national champion, or whatever it was. They pretty much had everybody on except the NWA champion proper, who was Dan Severn. Actually, no, they did have Dan Severn on.
Yeah, Dan Severn was on.
Yeah.
So they did all that, but Vince would never do this again. He would never, ever, ever, ever acknowledge any of this again. So it was really cool to see them put the WWF muscle behind actually paying tribute to the history of wrestling.
Yeah. Professor, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I can't add a whole heck of a lot to that.
Nope.
But this is the point where one of the earliest wrestling magazines I ever got was an old issue of The Wrestler, and it was like a 20th anniversary, and it went through and, all the PWI, I don't know if it was PWI, but all the awards they gave out, and Pro Wrestling Illustrated was putting out their almanacs. And I'm the kid that, like, when I read superhero comics, I read, the Marvel Universe handbooks. I wanted the information. I wanted to go back I read the encyclopedias. So this was 100% right up my alley at that point in time, and it still is. It's just, I want the knowledge. I want that history. So for them to acknowledge it, that was absolutely why I was leaning more, towards WWF at the time and away from WCW and stuff like that, because that was cool to me. I wanted that, and I also hated Hulk Hogan. So I wasn't watching a lot of WCW. Anyway, yeah, that was really cool. I thought it was super, super cool.
It was great. And we move from that to our Intercontinental title match. We have Farouk versus Owen Hart, and Stone Cold will be presenting the winner with the title. Right. So he comes out, and within the span of 2 minutes, he rings the bell to start the match, steals Vince McMahon's headset and just starts talking shit. He gives that back. He steals Lawler's headset, talks some more shit, gives that back. He goes and sits with Sergeant Slaughter for a second, knocks JR's hat off. Then he gets up, goes to the Spanish announce table and steals a headset.
Right?
Talks some shit, gives that back, goes to the French announce table, talks some shit, gives that back, and then hits Farouk in the head with the title.
Right.
So Owen wins. All in the span of about 3 minutes.
He's totally like a mean Bart Simpson. Like there's a
God, that's quite, exactly. It was so good. Just he just caused chaos. The whole match was just an excuse for Stone Cold to talk shit. Like,
and nobody can stop him. Nobody. Well, what are we gonna do about it? What can we do? This guy's just coming in here, and he's fucking great.
But so that sets up because Stone Cold wants his revenge on Owen. So he wanted Owen to win and get the belt so he could face Owen.
It's not a terrible match or anything.
It's like 2 minutes.
Yeah, right. But it's like, it was kind of fun. I was having a good time with it. And then it's just done. Yeah, it's over.
Yep.
I noticed, unless maybe there was something wrong, Austin didn't have the glass breaking in his music. Or did he? And I just didn't catch it. Like the music just starts out of nowhere. Owen's music is very nondescript and boring. Yeah.
I was actually going to say I thought this is one of my favorite Owen themes because
really?
it sounds like an actual song, not like because a lot of enough is enough and it's time for a change. Yeah. Like a lot of them are so MIDI electronic garbage that this one actually like had a riff, you know, kind of like had
a real song,
something to it. But I had totally forgotten about it.
Yeah, I had the only Owen Hart song I can remember is the old that one.
Yeah.
Which might just be the WrestleMania song. I'm not sure.
Yeah, right. Well, from here, we go into Los Boricuas versus the Sons of Anarchy.
Right.
In the DOA, the Disciples of the Apocalypse, which is Chains. What was it?
8-Ball Crush.
Chain Skull.
There's a point in this match where Jim Ross is. I'm guessing that they were doing all this faction stuff as a way to combat the NWO or something, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, so you've got these four. Both teams are just four generic dudes that all look and dress like they just are like a fucking NPC. And at one point, Jim Ross is like, who is the most dominant faction? Could it be the Nation? Could it be the Hart Foundation? Could it be DOA or Los Boricuas? And you're like, come on, Jim. No, it's not. It's the people who have individual personalities, not the gentlemen who all look like a cookie cutter stamp. Like
DOA who all leave their cuts on for the entire match.
Right.
I did think it was hilarious, though, that like everyone in Los Boricuas looked the same except for one guy wore a black shirt. What do you got, Blade?
All right. We just got to say it, guys. You have the Nation of Domination, right? And they are clearly meant to mimic the Black Panthers or Louis Farrakhan or something, okay? Then you have Los Boricuas, which is just like generic Spanish gang, right? And to like basically rough up Savio Vega a little bit so that he fits in a little better. Because they had run out of things for Savio to do, kind of. And then what's the exact opposite of the Nation of Domination? The Disciples of Apocalypse.
Bunch of white boy bikers.
Absolutely meant to evoke a white supremacist biker gang.
Yep.
The Harris twins are also a member of this gang, and they literally have SS tattoos on their actual bodies.
Yeah.
They have been outed as white supremacists many times over. Okay, that's Chains and Skull for anybody who's confused. And in watching this, you know, you have Brian Lee, who is 8-Ball, I think, and Crush, who I've never heard anything about them being actual white supremacists in real life, right? But like, you have two dudes who are literally like, didn't they fire Ludwig Borga years before this for a tattoo that he had? That was a white supremacy tattoo.
I didn't know that.
Yes, that's why he didn't last. But they have two dudes who look identical with shaved fucking heads, like literal skinheads.
And SS tattoos.
Yeah. The Undertaker also, by the way, you know, big fucking evil, fitting name, because he had an SS tattoo at one time that people don't like to talk about. So
there's pictures of him in the t-shirts out there.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm going to call this shit out where I see it because fuck these legends or whatever. But they also went on to become big actual financial collaborators with TNA later down the road when it was well known who they were and what they were about.
Yeah.
Yes. So Vince is just really tastefully, you know, navigating between the death of Brian Pillman and exploiting racial acrimony amongst Hispanic people and
white supremacists and you know, Black Power group. It's really, really just a very tasteful time in WWF.
The 90s, man.
Yeah. Have we even gotten into is this before or after the point where DX messed up the nation's locker room.
This is before DX hadn't been started, I don't think yet.
DX was being hinted at more than it was a thing.
But it's not quite DX at this point yet.
I will say there was a nice spot where they whip Chains into the corner, and then each Boricua takes a turn being whipped into him until Savio Vega just sprints at him and does a spinning heel kick so high that he flies over the top fucking rope to the outside, lands on his head, and then DOA wins.
Luckily, we can always leave it to you to find the silver lining in a race war.
Oh my God. They win in a whatever match, you know?
DOA wins, and I don't even fucking know who got the pin because it's just generic biker number 4, you know? Like,
I think it was Crush.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it actually is Crush.
And from there, we get a Bret and Bulldog backstage segment because they're going to be taking on the Patriot and Vader in a flag on a pole match.
So this
real quick.
Yeah, sorry.
Real quick. I want to read Bulldog's promo here. The only flag flying here in St. Louis is going to be the Canadian flag because the British Bulldog, myself, and Bret Hart are going to get the victory here in St. Louis. He pauses to think, and all he says is, right here, and then walks away.
Classic.
There was a lot of shitty promos like this night. Maybe people's heads were kind of around the Pillman thing because it seemed like people were just stumbling to get words out in their promos this whole night because Shawn Michaels does it later. I'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to that. But like, goddamn, Bulldog,
it's bad. So that set, that little backstage set with the chain link fence and everything, you know?
Yeah.
So around this, it's a few years after this, but around this time period, we had me and a friend of mine. We were renting a house and it had a garage and like we had some like sheet metal and chain link fence and like some old tires. And we built like a backstage interview set in the garage for like, we didn't do backyard wrestling or anything like that. We just built a backstage interview and we would just like go out like, hey, you guys want to come out and like take the video camera out and like, cut some promos and shit. And like, yeah. So I saw that set and it warmed my heart. It made me think of the olden days.
Absolutely unapologetic fucking nerd you are. I just a man after my own heart. You really are.
I got nothing to hide. Listen, man.
Well, from there we roll into our flag match, which has a new stipulation added that it can be won by either grabbing the flag of your side or pin or submission. Blade.
Yeah, so that's what I was just about to get into. See, a flag match is where you get the flag from the other side. That's what a flag match is. And there's never been one that I was aware of that ended in a pinfall or submission. And WWF is nothing if not innovative. So let's set this up appropriately. As Degree mentioned, you had Del Wilkes, the Patriot, who I was familiar with from his run in Global, okay? And you have him teaming with babyface Vader. Vader is not a babyface. He should never, ever, ever be a babyface, okay? That just should never happen. He was just like a year or two away from leaving, going back to All Japan and winning the Triple Crown again and having his last great run, okay? So this dude could still go, okay? But earlier in the night, he says bullshit in a promo that clearly pissed Vince McMahon off.
Yeah.
Okay, he's just, Vader doesn't give a fuck anymore, and it's just all over him. And then you have Bret and the Bulldog. The Bulldog did cut a legendarily terrible promo. Bret, this is the best year of Bret's career, which is so weird because it ends with a screw job. But up until that moment, Bret is on the run of a lifetime. Like his heel run, that Hart Foundation run, basically until this night where Pillman dies, is awesome. Like I would put the Hart Foundation up there with like the NWO. Like they are good like that, and they're better than DX.
That whole period where he's in the wheelchair,
Yes,
and doing like the Ironside shit, like that was great.
It was
Brett's
so
great
good
in this match too.
He is.
I loved watching Brett in this match. Guys, this match is like 23 minutes long.
It is.
It was a very long match.
Would a flag match be this long when one of the guys clearly cannot retrieve the flag, which is Vader, okay? And the Patriot is, on his way out, okay? Del Wilkes had a very weird career that didn't last very long because he had a big-time drug problem. And he does some shit in this match where you're like, he was a really good athlete. Like, he hits this Okada.
Look, man.
Yeah, he had a great
Holy
look.
shit.
He's very tall. But he hits this amazing looking drop kick on Davey Boy, except that Davey Boy like turns his head in this very weird way and then lands weird where it's like, did he just concuss the shit out of Davey Boy? Like, I don't know. But it looked like Davey Boy was the one who kind of fucked it up. Also, last note for me, and then I'll jump out of here. But Davey Boy had lost some mass and looked a lot better at this time. My God, when we did SummerSlam 92, and you see how chonk Davey Boy is, like, dude, your skin is bursting. Like, you have stretch marks on your tits because you cannot hold that kind of muscle. Like, it's crazy.
Dude, speaking of chonk, seeing Vader do a whole ass backflip off the top rope and land on his feet,
dude.
Without
Vader looks like a fucking wet sack of flour in this match.
My
but
God.
He is just still. Vader's fucking badass, dude. I'm a big Vader fan.
I hate to body shame, but it always
I'm not
made
body
me
shaming him.
uncomfortable
He looks cool.
because he was so big, but he had a Hank Hill ass.
Vader?
So it made me uncomfortable.
He looks like a big old Kodiak bear.
Yeah.
He had a Blade Daily ass is what he had.
I will say though, there also was a Brett does Owen sign in the crowd, but the person spelled Brett's name wrong. They spelled it like mine with 2 T's when Brett only has 1. So that goes to show you how intelligent the homophobic wrestling fans of the era were.
Yeah. They also, so I wanted to touch on the Vader landing on his feet thing for a minute, because that was by far the highlight of this match. Is Vader goes for a moonsault, Brett moves, and Vader lands on his feet almost, and then he kind of like falls on his butt for a minute, but gets right back up, which I've seen like much smaller people do that exact same thing. So, Julia Hart does it.
Yeah.
She lands on her feet about 10% of the time. So,
and she's not a mastodon.
That's what I mean. She's not like 350 pounds heavier. So he didn't break his ankles. Like he didn't. He's the size of like Yokozuna when Yoko debuted. Like Yoko's not doing that. Yoko's finisher was jumping and dropping his ass on you because he's that big. Vader is big like that. He doesn't have an ass to drop on you. But this dude, him and Bam Bam,
killer.
Best big men ever, I think. Vader is such a complete fucking athlete. It's such a shame that his WWF run was so bad. But that's all I got on this match. Brett's awesome to watch in his prime.
Brett's a great heel.
Bro, so good, man. So
just
good.
The way he's taunting everybody and just like picking on them and stuff. Yeah, he's cool. The Patriot, the only other thing I have in my notes is that the Patriot looks like a Hot Wheels car. And to your point about the flag match, Blade, it's basically a falls count anywhere in the ring match.
Yep.
Like, what? Why?
I just wonder what the impetus was to change the rules. Because
Vader's like, I ain't climbing up there to get that fucking flag.
Right.
Yeah, but they weren't going to win.
I was going to say they didn't even win anyway, did they?
Yeah, they didn't win. So, like, why? Why would you change the rules?
Weird.
I don't get it. Maybe Bulldog or Brett was injured and didn't want to try and climb. I don't know.
I will say the Patriot did did really struggle to try to reverse that sharpshooter into a sharpshooter. Like,
you're right.
He could not figure out what the fuck to do. He was
Well,
like,
and he's like reaching way too far under his legs, and like, yeah, Dell was, I think he retired like very soon after this. Like, so he only wrestled for about 10 years.
How much longer does Vader have in the WWF at this point?
Maybe a year.
And where is it? Okay. Where
and
is
a lot of it's not on TV. Yeah.
This is his promo with the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. Ain't that a bunch of bullshit, as you mentioned.
Yep.
Where is this in relation to my favorite Vader promo in the WWF, which is you train, you do your best, but you're nothing but a big fat fucking piece of shit.
Yep.
That's my. Oh, he might not have dropped an F-bomb. That's just me.
Well, I don't. But I don't. He does call himself a fat.
He calls
piece
himself
of shit.
a piece of shit. Yeah.
And he's repeating somebody's words.
That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
Bray Wyatt, when he was the Fiend, really talked about himself in very similar terms. You know, so somebody backstage was obviously all over Bray Wyatt to lose weight and buff up or whatever.
Yep. And that's exactly what. Even when watching this promo in '97, we all caught that and thought, oh God, somebody's telling Vader he's got to trim up or something.
Speaking on Bray, that was something he really struggled with, like mentally, was like the weight thing. Because remember when he first debuted, he was Husky Harris,
right?
And that's when he does get into the Firefly Funhouse stuff. Like all those puppets are supposed to be representations of his insecurities, and that's why you have Huskus the Pig.
That's what Huskus the Pig is. And and they made him they made him go shirtless as Husky Harris. It's like, why would you do that? Like,
because that's how the WWF works, or WWE.
Yeah, it's just
body shaming is even as recent as didn't Cora Jade mention something about that? How they were constantly riding her about it, and it's like, she looks fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Holy shit.
Well, speaking of peak physical form, we roll into a backstage segment with Shawn Michaels where he is struggling to start.
Put the words together.
He says there in this match, there's no way in and there's no way out. And in my mind, I'm like, well, how the hell, what the hell is the match then, Shawn? And he goes, you could see him kind of look to the side and realize what he said. Well, there is a way in, but then they lock the door. And he goes on, and the best part of this promo is at the end. You can see Triple H lean in and start to point to the camera like he's going to say something to the mic, and then they just cut.
It's the best. It's the best. I wish they did that every promo with him. Just every Triple H promo. Just cut right as he's about to talk.
Because it's like he's taking a breath in, and just as he's about to point, they just cut out. Yes.
It was so great.
So good. But we go from that into our main event, which was Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels, who was the European champion at the time.
Right.
Versus The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match. Blade, you got any background for us on what's been going on?
Yeah, so it's the first Hell in the Cell match. This had never happened before. And there are some things that happened in this match that must have been extraordinarily unsafe given what happened in later Hell in the Cell matches, okay? Like, Shawn takes some scary fucking bumps.
Yeah.
But, so Bret had been on this incredible heel run. He had the match with Austin, turned heel back at WrestleMania 13.
And this was peak Bret Hart hates America, Bret Hart.
Oh, yeah. Goddamn good, dude. And then they go back. Bret has to have surgery. Part of his best run, he's not even wrestling. He's just he's feuding with Austin from a chair. He's feuding with Shawn from the wheelchair. Shawn's still being portrayed as a babyface, but even as a babyface, he acts like such an asshole.
Yeah.
When Vince even tells him a few times, that's completely irresponsible and ridiculous to say. And so finally they realize Shawn just doesn't know how to be a babyface. He's just a dick.
Yeah.
And so the Undertaker had won the world title at WrestleMania 13 from Sid, where Sid allegedly shit his pants during the match. And Undertaker won in possibly one of the top 5 worst WrestleMania main events of all time.
Yeah.
I think Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar have him beat, but Undertaker's been the champion, and they've been teasing Kane the whole summer, where Paul Bearer had turned on him the previous year with Mick Foley, Mankind. And yeah, essentially, he's been teasing that his brother is still alive. And that carries on throughout the summer. And Shawn beats the British Bulldog for the European Championship in the UK. Because the day of the show, they managed to politic their way into Shawn not losing, which was the whole point of this entire show. The British Bulldog is the most beloved athlete, wrestler, at least, from the UK. Like, why would you do this?
Yeah.
And they talked their way into him winning. And so DX had just started to be alluded to a little bit by this point.
You had Shawn, Triple H, China, and Rick Rude.
Rude, yes.
The insurance policy, right?
The insurance policy. I loved it. And I liked when Rick was a part of it. And he would only be part of it for another month because after the screw job, he fucking left. But so at this point, Undertaker and Bret have a match at SummerSlam with Shawn as the special referee. And Bret had baited Shawn and, absolutely antagonized Shawn that entire summer. And I think Bret just got to say what he really felt about Shawn a lot of the time.
I think a lot of both of them were just shooting on each other.
Well, this is where the Sunny Day shit happened as well.
Yep.
And we all know that's a legendary promo where Shawn alleged that, implied heavily that Bret was having an affair with Sunny on live television, didn't tell Bret he was going to do that. And Bret's literal wife thought he was cheating on her with Sunny, while Shawn was actually having an affair with Sunny. So that's pretty incredible. So at SummerSlam,
but not when viewed through a modern day political lens. It's par for the course.
Absolutely. But Shawn is the special guest referee. If he attacks Bret or any way involves himself, he cannot wrestle in the United States. And Bret is antagonizing him, spitting on him, just fucking with him the entire match until the match gets to a point where Shawn has a chair in his hand and he can't take it anymore and he swings it at Bret, but he hits the Undertaker and Bret covers the Undertaker and Shawn and Bret are staring each other in the eye and Shawn makes the most dramatic, perfect 3 count. And Bret is the height of dickishness where he is so pleased that Shawn has to do this.
Yep.
And Bret's your new world champion and they have this match. And so from then on, Shawn's on this, kind of gradual descent into becoming a heel. And the Undertaker is stalking him, like wants to kill him. And the winner of this match will challenge Bret Hart at Survivor Series for the world title.
And the reason they put it in a cage is because up until this point, the Undertaker had been outnumbered by Shawn with his little crew. And holy hell, this match was incredible. Right from the get-go, Shawn Michaels is shitting himself once they start locking the door. And he's just cartoon character, terrified. And I'll say, this is what I was going to get to, is that, as a kid, when you don't know how much is real and how much isn't, at this point, I literally thought the Undertaker burned down their family funeral home and almost killed his brother. And he had that teardrop painted on. And I had heard that, gang members get that when they've killed someone. And so I thought the Undertaker had actually killed a human being in real life.
Sweet.
I was scared shitless of the Undertaker at this time.
When the Undertaker's music hits and you hear the gong and Shawn jumps, he's startled, he's never heard the Undertaker's music before, and it just scares the living shit out of him. It's so great. Before the match, though, Sergeant Slaughter takes He goes under with a flashlight, and he looks under the ring to make sure that no one can come in under the ring. Yep. So to me, I had actually forgotten how this match ended. So I was like, does Kane come up through the ring? Like, are they setting it up for that? Like, that was just an odd little thing. Yeah, this match though, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, for the first ever Hell in a Cell match, I mean, no one really knew anything about what this match was going to be, and I thought they made great use of
big time
how they use the cage and everything. You know, it starts off with a lot of the Undertaker just, you know, smashing Shawn into the cage. Like, there was a great spot when they're in the corner, they're outside on the corner of the cage, and Taker goes to flip Shawn up for like a power bomb.
Yeah.
And Shawn grabs the cage.
Yep.
And just starts hammering Taker. And I was like, that's a real creative spot there. Like, I don't know why it was so simple, but it got me that, like, man, like, that's what separates like a great wrestler from, like, you know, whatever. Like, to have that thought in your head to, like, okay, grab the cage, and, like, you know, it was just, it was so great.
We always thought that Shawn Michaels, he wasn't just good because of, you know, the moves and the spots and whatever. It's everything he does in between. It's the little, those little flourishes. This match, I'm looking at my notes, and I have like 5 notes for the whole rest of the card. And then at this point in the pay-per-view, I actually took out like a second mortgage so that I could build a summer home and take up residence on Shawn Michaels' nutsack, because this motherfucker just goes crazy in this match.
Yeah.
Just selling and bumping and taking back bump after back bump, and like these hard, fast, like, and then it's like when he takes a bump, it's so quick, but then he just lays there, and it's this slow motion, and it just adds so much to it. Like, yeah, shit, dude, is Shawn okay?
He does spit on some fans, though.
He does spit on some fans. He's fucking great.
I gotta say, I totally agree with you. Like, this, to me, is so much better than I even remembered, and I've always held this match in really high regard. I do think, you know, given the kind of the way AEW and New Japan and other places where I've spent a lot more time, you know, a lot of time, haven't been watching WWF very much, it has changed my perspective on what's great in wrestling, and it has changed a lot of how I feel about that stuff. So sometimes when I look back on stuff I used to really love, I'm like, was it really that good though?
Yeah.
And then you watch this is a one-man show, essentially.
Yep.
It's really, Undertaker's a fucking loser in real life, okay? Fuck him. But you can be a super rich, super famous person and be a total fucking loser. And people like Mark Calloway prove it all the time. But it's not like anybody could have done what Undertaker did in this match. He is a very important part of it. I'm not trying to diminish. This is Shawn in his first run at the height of his power. Mm-hmm. He said during his interview, nobody does this game the way I do. And he proves it. Now, if you ask me to choose between Shawn and Bret, there's no decision for me. It's Bret. It's just Bret. Okay. I like Bret's style better. I think Bret has one of the most natural wrestling styles I've ever seen. Everything looks crisp. Everything looks good. But goddamn, this is why people say Shawn Michaels might be the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
This is why is in this match, he portrays terror. He portrays cowardice. He portrays everything that you needed to sell the cage. Shawn does.
Yep.
When the psychology for how they get out of the cage.
That was great. So a couple things there. So he beats the shit out of the cameraman so that they have to
super kicks him.
They have to send help to open the cage. But I also loved, speaking of the cameras, is how the cameras kept glitching out. And just like the atmosphere, it added so much to the atmosphere of the match and kind of the danger in a way. Like, it was great. But so they get the cage open to get this cameraman help. And they get outside, and Shawn is just gushing blood after being
Yes.
slammed face first into the cage. Like, when they show the end of the match and how much blood is just pooling under his head, like, it was...
Oh, it's dripping, yeah.
Yeah.
Shawn does
it was gnarly.
Muda scale-esque kind of blade job in this one,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where you get that iconic shot of him being like javelin darted into the side of the cage with that bloody face. Like, great shot.
And then great work of being the chicken shit in the match. Scales the cage to get to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hear when Foley talked about, him and Taker having the Hell in a Cell match, so I imagine it was probably the same for this one. He's like, you could hear like the shit starting to give way because they hadn't reinforced the top of the cell yet. And Shawn takes some big fucking bumps on the top of the cage that are like, oh shit.
Undertaker press slams him.
Yeah.
And I could see what the thought was, is like, do it on the joints, so that there's 4 sides to where I'm landing, One, it had to hurt a lot to land there. I can see why, but having seen the Foley match, which was a year later, having seen that, that cage wasn't perfectly safe. So Shawn could have fallen through the fucking roof very easily and just fucking died, like right then and there. And that, I forgot about some of this shit, honestly. I remember the bump where Undertaker's kicking his fingers and stuff, like to make him fall off, when he's grabbing the top.
Which I'll say, you see Foley, what he does the next year, and it kind of puts to shame this spot. But like when that hadn't been done yet, like that was a wild looking spot of Shawn
invented the Spanish announce table spot. He invented it in this match.
Yep.
Really?
They weren't doing the Spanish announce table thing before this. I mean,
okay. I mean, I'm just like, I don't doubt that. I'm just like, holy shit, really?
Yeah, no, I know. It's just, it's wild, like how
this match is fucking. I remember, so we were living in this house that was like broken up into 3 apartments, and with there were some seedy people living in the other apartments, but the people directly
as they do.
As it is. The people directly below us used to steal, we borrowed cable from them with their permission, and they would get pay-per-views all the time. And my buddy Bill, who was my roommate at the time, he would work 3rd shift and I worked 1st shift. So I got the VHS copy of this pay-per-view and I left it for Bill as I went to work and he was getting home. I get home from work, Bill's asleep because he's got work 3rd shift. And the tape is sitting next to the television with a little note and a fully packed bowl. And it just says, save this for the main event. And that's the fucking match. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
They get back into the cage and back into the ring. And, there's some stuff. Taker looks like he's about to win, right? He gives Shawn he smashes him over the head with a chair. And then he gives his little throat slash like he's about to hit the tombstone and the lights go out. And this is when it's like, oh shit, what the fuck is happening? And then all of a sudden, Kane's music starts, that organ.
Love Kane's music.
My only complaint about this is I wish the pyro that goes up behind Kane would have been right before he comes out.
Oh,
because
sure.
It would have added so much more of a boom. But so he comes down and he just rips the fucking door off the cage, gets in there, stands toe to toe with the Undertaker. They have a quick little scuffle. Kane picks him up for a tombstone, makes sure to get a shot for everyone in the crowd, rotates him around, hits that tombstone. Shawn crawls over to Taker, puts the arm on top of him. The slowest goddamn Hebner count.
So great, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so dramatic.
And there's your winner. But we get the iconic, that's gotta be Kane!
And it's the only really great Vince call from this era that I can think of, but that's gotta be Kane.
Yep.
It's two. Undertaker and Kane are both like two gimmicks that like shouldn't have worked. Even Undertaker coming out in the era of all those, you know, the garbage man and the football player and the whatever. It was
Repo Man.
right. Just a stupid fucking gimmick, but he made it work. Kane was a stupid gimmick that totally worked. I mean, I was a fan, you know, I loved their whole thing that was going on. And I love that they have that like whole Daredevil was all red and Bullseye was blue. So the Undertaker's all black and Kane's all red. Like just the like for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah, and I love too because Kane for a long time until he started using the choke slam as a finisher, his moves were pretty much just the Undertaker's exact moveset, you know, the tombstone and shit like that. And man, it was just the way the story of Kane and Undertaker, as much as I despise both men and their political leanings and shitheadery as human beings, one of the greatest stories in wrestling, I think, was Kane and Undertaker's relationship. Because, I mean, they go through so much of them finally working together as brothers to be the brothers of destruction. They feud again off and on. And it's just this constant, you know, even when they were working good together, there was still always that constant kind of tension of the Undertaker tried to kill me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's one of those soap opera stories that actually really works. Like
it does.
I really love those. I mean, yeah.
What's your favorite version of Kane? Mine was right after this when he gets the tank top, because that's when he kind of becomes not just Undertaker's brother. And I feel like he really comes into his own is when he switches to that tank top. It's a little bit darker, a little less cartoony. Mm-hmm. I'll even say when they took his mask off, he was terrifying. Like, those months where he was coming to the ring, he had a towel on his head and like armed security having to like
and like a little bit of hair in the back. And stuff.
Because he was just terrorized. Cool. Like he almost killed Jim Ross. Like, man,
I like this version of Kane is probably my favorite. I liked he kind of did the Chewbacca like. Where his just little head turns, you know, because he couldn't emote that much, but I thought he was pretty effective doing that. And the only other thing, and I don't know if this is my favorite version of Kane, but I do like when Kane had to use the voice box thing and he would suck it, you know.
Well, he had a period where he was he kind of became like a comedic character when he was.
It was like Kane, you could always talk, you just didn't have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like the original Kane.
Yeah.
Like when they took the mask off and they were like, no, he just thinks he's hideously scarred.
Yeah.
I actually thought that was a really good rationale. Yeah. What I did want to point out is I haven't watched this whole show. I've seen this match in isolation numerous times.
Right.
So it's impossible to convey the level of intensity that gets added to this show when this match starts. And then as a fan at that time, seeing Shawn scale the cage, you're like, okay, we're in uncharted territory. This has never happened before. And shit is about to get really, really different. And anything could happen after this. But then I will admit that as a fan, when I first saw Kane, I kind of didn't know what to think, to be honest. Like, this appearance didn't immediately blow me away because I grew to like the Kane character. But it felt cartoony after we had seen this, like, holy shit, like, very graphic, brutal match. And then this kind of like cartoon character looking, you know, theater looking monster comes out and gives a single tombstone to the Undertaker and he gets pinned. And I didn't know exactly what to make of it. I was fine with Shawn winning, but I just was like, I'm not sure if I like that or not. And then
makes sense.
I liked Kane over time. I do think the initial story they told, I'm not sure I can stay with, like, I didn't know that I thought it was great for years after this. You know, I thought there were ebbs and flows where it was better than others, but you know, they kind of run out of ideas for Kane at a certain point. I actually enjoyed Corporate Kane.
Yeah.
Just because they kind of went super meta and just,
Right.
like I remember him saying like, he went on vacation to Hawaii and he threw a baby into a volcano and it made him really happy. So there was stuff like that. But yeah, I despise both of these men enormously.
Big time.
Actually, I have more respect for Shawn than either one of them, which is
saying
not
a
something
lot.
I thought I would say.
Yeah.
But the night ends with Triple H and Chyna come out to help Shawn to the back, and the whole way up the ramp, Triple H is just doing the suck it chop to Shawn Michaels.
Right. And you have the end of this match, you have Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Undertaker, who Undertaker just took a new job with WWE, right? Isn't he running something, or am I misconstruing something?
I've heard that he's involved with AAA.
Right.
Yeah,
So you
something
have
about that, and he's doing that like new Tough Enough thing they're doing.
Right. And so you've got Shawn running, like doing the creative for NXT and Triple H. So it's like, here's your, 25, 30 years later or whatever. It's like, that's your holy trinity or your evil trinity, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shitty, evil, terrible bookers,
Yeah. I will say, man, Shawn has been good at booking for NXT. He did a great job with that. Yeah.
I think especially given that he was going to have to live in the shadow of what NXT had been at one time, I think he's done an admirable job, especially at pushing women and people of color.
He's done great with that, which is why I say it's been so great. Is he?
Yeah. Get behind that.
Unlike WWE proper, like it seems like that NXT has become a good place for marginalized wrestlers or and women to really stand out. But then you go to the main roster and they're firing anyone who's queer. They're, you know what I mean? Like,
you might as well not even go to the main roster. I mean, just don't go to WWE.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been the curse of NXT.
I would like to encourage everybody, if you like The Hard Way, if you like what we're doing here, make sure you listen to my podcast, Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out.
Yep.
We just dropped an episode. We're talking about the return. And over there, we focus mostly on AEW, sometimes on ROH and New Japan. We were talking about the return of Rio. We're talking about Darby Allin and his insane murder of Gabe Kidd on live television. Speaking of murders. And we're talking about a whole bunch of other stuff. We're talking about AEW pay-per-views being carried on Max and what we think that means kind of for the larger wrestling landscape. So Hard Way and Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out are kind of sister shows. So make sure that you're subscribed to us both on whatever platform it is that you listen to podcasts on. We're very thankful for all of the people who listen to this show. We want more people to listen to this show. So if you could, please go, if it's in the iTunes store, if it's on Spotify, go leave us a 5-star rating. Tell your friends about it. We want everybody to know what we're doing here. We are all under the Sickos Club banner, and we're trying to grow this thing, people, because we don't want to do the same old shit, same old podcasts, same old attitude of just making marks give us money. So if we want to change things, we're not going to pull the same old clickbait bullshit that everybody does. We need your help. So please tell your friends, follow us on social media, The Hard Way and Sit Down, Shut Up, Mark Out and Sickos Club, and let the world know, man, we're doing things a little differently. And if you think there's a spot for you at the table with what you see that we do, there probably is. So come join us. And that's it for me.
You got anything, Professor?
I got nothing. You know where to find me. I'm on Blue Sky.
I have no idea what we're watching next week, but we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.